2021. As is our normal operation, you can view this meeting on Zoom, either through I'm getting some really strange reverb on my mic. Is anyone else hearing that? Is anyone else hearing me in stereo? Okay, I'm going to try and log off and log back on. And
I think if we just have everybody mute themselves, it might.
Yeah, you're fine now.
Oh, okay. All right, thanks. Sorry, that was super distracting. We're going to try that again. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Westford School Committee meeting for April 26, 2021. As is our normal course of business, you can view this meeting on Zoom or on Westford Cat. And there is an Airtable link that will be put in the chat. If you have a comment or question, you can put that in the Airtable and ask whether you would like to speak live. We usually can't guarantee that we get to all of the questioners, but we will absolutely do our best. In most meetings, we are able to do so. Final reminder, friendly reminder that anything put into the Airtable is part of the public record, as this is a public meeting. And housekeeping done, people can start populating Airtable. If you do have a comment, we'll start with informational updates and then we'll circle back to public comment as needed. And Bill, the floor is yours. And you're on mute.
At least once every meeting, I have to be reminded, unfortunately. Prior to getting into any other business to report to you, I do want to say to the community that there has been obviously an issue that has been in the press a number of times involving one of our staff members. There have been some questions about what we're doing about it. And I want you to know that we are addressing it aggressively, that our labor attorney is in very active discussions with the attorney for the individual involved, and we are hoping to have some news shortly. Please understand that we take this matter very seriously and are addressing it as quickly as possible, while allowing, as we must do, a person to a certain point in time due process rights. So just please know that it's being dealt with as aggressively as possible through our Labor Council. And that is, Gloria, all I'll say on that. I want to mention that we've received good news along with other school systems across the country that the U.S. Department of Agriculture is extending its free meals program in the schools through the next school year. That means there will be no cost to students and their families, which is a great benefit to them. I do want to let you know that we receive reimbursement of $1.89 for every breakfast that we serve through the school lunch program. And we receive $3.65 reimbursement, in this case payment, for every lunch, student lunch. Adult lunches are not reimbursed, although they've been a strong source of revenue. That we don't receive any reimbursement from them, but they do contribute to the overall revenue of the food service fund. So that's great news from the USDA. We certainly welcomed all of our grades 6 through 12 students today. Those who are returning, we welcome also and always will those students who have chosen to remain remote in terms of the teaching and learning model. Lots of smiles again today throughout the buildings, all buildings. One of our workers in the office had a 6th grader who returned to school today, and she said her daughter was just thrilled and called her at the end of the school day saying it was one of the best days she's had all year. So we're excited. That's what this is all about. And we want to finish strong with our students and our staff over the next 2 months. I want to really congratulate, this is an extraordinary accomplishment. Pranav Ramaswamy. Pranav is a student at Westford Academy who was the only high school student on a team of college students that took participated in a competition and received, his team won. They were working on a more efficiently sealed mask. As we know, we've come to know them and enjoy them for the last 13 years, but his team worked on, and I'm going to read this because it's so complex. Their idea was to use thermochromic liquid crystals to provide a real-time indicator of the degree of seal of a face mask and respirators. And so talk about innovation and the application of science to something that we are familiar with now on a daily basis. The team won $7,000 through the RIST Campus Difference Maker Award Program. And I have to, I'm going to go over and meet Pranav one of these days this week and congratulate him. As he said, he was the only high school student on any of the teams and did an extraordinary job. So once again, outstanding students making us proud every single day of the school year. And I want to keep it a little bit brief tonight. And so that is it for my component of the superintendent's update.
Great, thank you very much. That's extraordinary, Bill. Carrie, you're up.
Good evening. I too would like to say that it was so great to have the entire district almost back to a normal school setting. And we know that we have some students who are RLA, and we're excited to be able to offer those students the high quality experience in a different form from now till the end of the year that we can offer our in-person students. But I will say that it is amazing to me how seamless it has been with the transition back, and bumps and bruises along the way, and including, at Westford Academy, some internet outages early in the morning. And of course, what better day than the day that we're all kind of back, and it's a big monumental day for the year, and this occurs. And it just speaks to the flexibility of our staff and our students, certainly perseverance, endurance, because people are exhausted, and to move this ship this late in the year, I think just speaks to the dedication and passion and talent that we have on the staff, amongst the staff, and how students are just so incredibly resilient and have been along this ride and so incredibly impacted. But we're happy to start to feel like we're leveling off. And I do think that with the return, although it's only been one day when we're almost full return, in district, I do think that there is a lot of light at the end of this tunnel, and that is so incredibly refreshing. I also want to thank everybody who was so patient. Many people said, why don't we just hang on to our model through the end of the year? Others didn't. But I do also think, now that we get a feel for everybody who has come into the building, and the fact that our buildings are much fuller than they've been, it does speak to and prepare us for a smoother entrance in the fall. So I do think that the plan as it is was solid, and I commend the superintendent for leading us through all of that. I think that we are really looking ahead to better days in Westford Public Schools, but obviously not specific to Westford, just school in general for students throughout the nation and beyond. We are putting some finishing touches on the planning for our elementary summer tutoring option for some students who will be eligible. We were fortunate enough to purchase iReady, which for math, it is a universal screener for students, and it really detects areas that are currently needing some reinforcement. So we're going to look at student-specific data using this tool, as well as district trends throughout the elementary schools. And this is something that we actually have been wanting for many years and have not been able to fund. It actually never even gets to, it's been mentioned certainly in conversation to the superintendent, but it's something, looking at the cost of it, we have not been able to, or I have not been able to put forward. And with the grant funds and some of the relief that has come, we were able to purchase it. So even if it's short term, it's not anything that's just specific to summer to identify gaps and to find students eligible for this tutoring option or not. It will actually help us plan where we should put heavier focus and emphasis on in our curriculum next school year. We have something that's a little bit more equitable for the literacy aspect, but math, there was kind of a gaping hole in need. And as we were planning ahead, we thought that this was a very smart use of funds. So that is something that we now have. That's kind of, it just started. Students at the elementary level will be assessed next week, and training will be taking place for staff this week. So we look forward to using that to help us navigate forward in the area of math.
Great, thank you for that update, Carrie, and all of the proactive planning to support our learners. I definitely want to echo, the sentiments from Carrie and Bill, and thank you to all the administrators, leadership team, teachers, staff members who really made this full return possible. Thank you so much for all the hard work that went into all of the preparations to help things go smoothly. For the few kinks that are undoubtedly there, if there was concern about how lunches are working or traffic patterns at the schools, please, we just encourage all the parents, please have patience, as that's all getting ironed out and we're all getting used to this again. So we do ask for your patience. And also, as Carrie indicated, shout out to all of our staff who continue to support our remote learners this spring. The last update that I had was we received a very interesting letter from some of our 8th grade students this afternoon. They're concerned about mental health, and they have some ideas about how to address it in our schools. We just got the letter this afternoon, so by chance, if any of those students or their parents are on the line, thank you so much for reaching out. Absolutely commend all of your efforts, and we will be in touch regarding next steps to help support you and your project. So thank you very much. Any other updates from school committee? Not seeing anyone. Oh, Valerie.
Just a question for an update of when we'll know a little bit more about the sections at the elementary level and what's projected for next year, and kind of that teacher shuffling. Anything we can do to kind of alleviate any anxiety after the year teachers have had, I'm sure would be much appreciated.
Our meeting, Valerie, is scheduled for tomorrow.
Oh,
For that very discussion.
great. Thank you. Appreciate that. And I guess just a general question. I brought this up in the open house before vacation, but to add the finance director update or a finance update to the agendas going forward to maybe work that back into a regular update. Thanks.
We will do that. I will tell you how pleased we've been with Jean joining us. She has stepped right in after Ingrid left, and she is an extraordinarily competent individual and really knows the school finance profession extraordinarily well.
Wonderful, thank you. And any other updates? Okay, not seeing any waves. Student updates. Hannah, any update?
Sure. Nothing big right now, but definitely a lot of excitement today. A lot going on back at school. I know personally, I'm very thankful for the 5-block schedule. That's a huge help to us because I had forgotten how much work we get when we have that many classes a day. So very helpful. Yeah, I think it's pretty exciting going back. That's all we really have.
Thanks for that feedback, Hannah. Glad to hear, even after day 1, that the 5-drop-2 felt like it was making a difference. So that's really cool. Great to hear. Also, I don't see Brian on screen tonight, but congratulations to Brian and the senior class who are all moving on to their senior experience and making college decisions. And, you know, I know from having had seniors in the past, they're pretty much on the sprint to the finish line right now. So congratulations to all of our seniors out there. Circling back to public comment, we do have 2 comments in the Airtable, and I do want to thank both of these community members for their patience, because they had also emailed on this, and I had reached out to check with our nursing staff to make sure we had the correct information. But I will read their questions so the whole public knows. The first is, in response to the commissioner's latest communication, I'm very concerned about the redefining of close contact as 3 feet, especially as many of us committed to returning our children with the understanding we would be notified of an exposure if they were within 6 feet for 15 minutes or more. Will the district commit to notifying 6 feet in keeping with DPH and CDC guidance as was explained to us previously? And the second comment, which I know is on the same topic and may be saying pretty much the same thing, but let me read it for completeness. Does Westford Public Schools intend to continue to follow CDC guidelines for safe in-person instruction, since contact tracing in combination with isolation and quarantine is one of the 5 key prevention strategies the CDC lists as essential to the safe delivery of in-person instruction? Will Westford Public Schools continue to follow CDC safety guide that states for schools that use less than 6 feet between students in classroom, the definition of close contact should not change. Students sitting with less than 6 feet next to another student or person diagnosed for a total, I'm sorry, I apologize, I had to expand. Students sitting less than 6 feet next to another student or person diagnosed with COVID-19 for a total of 15 minutes or more should quarantine at home or be referred to testing. I did reach out to our nursing staff, and the response I got, and Bill, I'm sure you're going to correct me if I'm wrong on this, is that parents will be notified if there is an exposure at 6 feet, but quarantine would be a parental choice in that matter. Quarantine will only be mandatory for an exposure at 3 feet or less.
That's correct.
Okay. I hope that addresses both of the questions. We understand the concern. There is ever evolving guidance and changing guidelines. Our nursing staff has been spectacular at responding to that and interpreting it and staying in contact with our local Board of Health as to how to implement these guidelines. But that is our understanding. If there is an exposure in a classroom or bus setting that is 6 feet, parents will be notified, but quarantine would not be mandatory unless the exposure was 3 feet or less in a classroom or bus setting. Please also know one of the other factors that I think should make people feel comfortable with that change is the nurses have already responded that they've had a lot of experience just with the K-5 return. And there were a number of students who quarantined under the previous guideline, and there was not school spread. So they do feel comfortable making this shift as directed by DESE. I saw a couple of hands though. I'm sure there's some other questions on this. Alicia.
I just wanted to clarify so we're all on the same page. When you say quarantine, you mean the process that the school has put forward where either you're out for 14 days or you're out for 7 days with the negative PCR test? Okay, so those guidelines move to 3 feet, but notification still stays at 6 feet.
That's
okay,
right.
I just wanted to make sure that we had all the same vocabulary going forward.
Valerie?
Yeah, just for those families that don't subscribe to the DESE commissioner's weekly update or aren't watching tonight, do we have any district-wide communication planned about this? Because it does feel like a bit of a change for kind of the 6 feet message that has been all along.
Yes, that I spoke with Michael Assert today. Michael posts all of our information for the COVID dashboard. We're going to put that statement at the beginning of the dashboard first thing tomorrow morning, Valerie. We didn't get to it last week, but we will get to it first thing tomorrow morning, because I did notice over the last several days a number of questions about the 3 feet versus 6 feet, quarantine or not quarantine. So that will go up immediately.
Avery?
To follow up, Valerie's, will you ask the principals to include that information in their Friday emails? I don't want
Sure.
it to be just a stagnant post. I'd like it pushed out. And will we be meeting with the COVID committee, resuming that, and to evaluate how the return has gone? I think we would be due sometime in May for another meeting.
Yes, we'll definitely be reviewing it, and I'm in touch with them also in the event that anything needs to change in our own practices. But yeah, we will certainly get that information. And I think it's important that the newsletters include all of this also, because that's the document that the parents are more likely to read than going to our district-wide dashboard.
Alicia?
I don't know if you have the answer to this yet, but because the CDC has just approved 16 to 18-year-olds, we will eventually start having large numbers of students who are vaccinated at WA. Will vaccinated kids who end up in that close quarantine notification bucket, will they be required to quarantine at 3 feet if they have already had the vaccine?
Don't know yet, Alicia. I think we'll take guidance from the state and from our health department on that.
Okay, terrific. Thank you.
Any other, Valerie?
Just the talk of the dashboard reminded me that there seemed like a discrepancy in the update last the Friday before vacation, because in the meeting that week, Bill, the number you gave us for close contacts was like 113, but when the chart was updated on the 16th, that Friday, it was like below 25. So I didn't know, I mean, that would be a really big drop off of people from Tuesday to Friday, or maybe there was a bit of a typo or something.
I'll have to thank you for bringing that to my attention. I had not noticed that, but that discrepancy can't be correct. There's got to be some reason. I'll check that tomorrow morning also.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, because my numbers come directly from the log that the nurses enter the numbers into, both student and staff positive cases and student and staff close contact cases. So that movement from 116 to 25 had to have been a typo.
Okay, thank you for looking into it.
Yep.
Anything else? I'm not seeing anything else in the Airtable right now, although we'll check it periodically throughout the meeting. But for now, we'll move on to old business. And our first topic is the public budget hearing. And I think, Bill, you were going to explain to the public how this works.
Yes, so the budget public hearing is a requirement under Mass General Law, Chapter 71, Section 38N. And essentially what it requires is for a school committee to open a public hearing and then close it after any questions or comments. The public hearing is for the purpose of anyone in the community to ask any additional questions or to make any statements either in favor of or in opposition to our approved fiscal 2022 budget. Now, we have to post this public hearing, which we did on April 17th in the Lowell Sun. Has to be posted in a local newspaper. And the hearing cannot be conducted less than 7 days from the date of the posting. So we are outside of that 7 days, so we are completely legal in holding our public hearing. This is not as such a budget presentation, but Chris, if you have those slides, if you could just bring up the first slide, I just want to remind people of where we are. First of all, you have approved a budget of 67, that bottom line, $67,679,367. That is made up of the town's appropriation, which we have met. That is about a 1.62% increase over the current fiscal 21 budget. That's the 62,099. Then we've supplemented the general fund appropriation as we do every year with alternative revenues, bus fees, athletic fees, parking fees, kindergarten fees, instrumental music fees, etc. School choice, circuit breaker. And so, you know, we receive an appropriation of 62.1 million from the town, but our level of service operation is funded at a level of 67, almost 67.7 million. And so that is what we are proposing, what we have reviewed with the select board and the finance committee at 2 meetings. I think they were pleased with the information that they received from us. They asked, along with you, excellent questions. And at this time, as I said, the nature of the public hearing is that if there's anyone who wants to speak either in favor of or against our budget, this is the opportunity for them to do it in a public meeting. So if there are any questions, we can check the chat.
Yep. So Bill, is this the part where we officially vote to open the hearing?
Yes, excuse me, I'm sorry. Yes, you do need to open the hearing.
Yes. So I'll make a motion to open the public budget hearing for the FY22 school budget. Do I have a second? Thank you, Chris. And vote to Avery.
Aye.
Chris.
Aye.
Alicia.
Aye.
Ming Chen.
Aye.
Sean.
Aye.
Valerie.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the hearing is open. And we do have one question in the chat from former school committee member Megan Eckroth. Hello out there, Megan. Regarding the last slide of the budget hearing document that outlines state versus Westford per pupil spending, is the disparity in percentage of spending on teachers due to our small class ratios? If so, what does the state define as the student teacher ratio at respective grade levels? And Megan notes that this question comes with an acknowledgement that Westford has made a budgetary effort to acknowledge equitable teacher pay to comparable districts, and that Westford as a community values the benefit of smaller class sizes.
Well, our class sizes are a little bit smaller than some other districts, but it is also a commitment for other teaching services that we provide to our students. I think, you know, this is one of those issues that I'm sure Megan notes, that sometimes it's not how much money that you have appropriated to you, although that's very important. It's how you spend it. And we spend more certainly on the teaching function than that includes a lot of let me just, I'm getting the chart up right here that I'm looking at. We've always taken pride in the fact that our class size is reasonably low, which, as Megan points out, is a reason for that greater percentage than the state. We have come up somewhat with the salary compensation and the competitiveness, keeping in mind that that competitiveness factor is based on the DESE comparable communities that they identify by the types of students and the nature of services that are required. And so it's different for every community in terms of the groups of communities, like communities and comparable communities that are compared with. But I'd like to think that, as Megan points out, the class size that we have tried to maintain at 22 to 1 at K-5 and 25-1 at 6-12 has been a key contributing factor to why our students have done well in the Westford Public Schools. On the other hand, we sometimes during budget hearings each year say, well, you top heavy with administration. Well, that bottom 2 bars show that we're not. We're 0.8% less in terms of spending per pupil on administration. We've tried to appropriate as many dollars as possible to direct services to students.
Bill, I guess I had a question that might piggyback on that. Could another reason that Westford's expenditure on teachers is higher than the state average be due to the fact that we have a very veteran teaching staff? I mean, we have a high percentage of teachers who have been in the district for a very long time and might be, paid more than certainly a young teacher or a starting teacher. And I think Westford as a community tends to, because it is a good community to teach in, our teachers come and stay. So is that perhaps another indication of that difference?
I think that's a very important factor. I'm sorry that that's generally one of the things that we usually say in our budget meetings throughout the years. That's a very important matter. In fact, I was in a meeting with some officials from another school district very late this afternoon, and I was mentioning to them that we don't have a high turnover rate in Westford because the staff who are hired here enjoy working here very much. There's a lot of support for them. They enjoy the culture. They enjoy the families and students. And so you're absolutely correct. There tends not to be that migratory factor that you find in some other school systems.
Well, that's certainly an advantage to students and the entire community. Certainly something I know my family has personally benefited from. So I guess the last question I'd have on this, and there may be a few more in the chat, is the distinction. There's kind of several lines here, and I just want to clarify the distinction. Instructional leadership, I would think is referring to curriculum coordinators and student support leaders, correct?
And building principals.
Okay, and then there's the distinction between teachers and other teaching services. So kind of what's the breakdown of different, how that's differentiated? Like what all is encompassed within the teacher line? Is that more than just the classroom teachers?
Well, the other teacher services is where you find the interventionists, oftentimes the teacher assistants that act in support roles. So TAs, reading and math interventionists, also the specialists such as occupational therapists, physical therapists, speech therapists, staff that are outside the core classroom, but provide important academic services to students.
There was also a question on I think it's the third slide that talks about proposed fees. And
I'm sorry, before we move on to that, can I just check in on a follow-up on what we're talking about?
Absolutely. Sorry, Chris.
Very related to what you just asked. So Bill, I think that at least for me, there's some confusion because you had said that the discrepancy could be partially attributed to, I don't remember how you worded it, maybe like additional instructional services in the classroom or something along those lines. But then it sounds like things like teaching assistants don't appear in that teacher line. So do we have any more specifics on what, other than classroom teacher salaries, if there's anything else that would appear in that teacher bar?
That's generally it in terms of teachers who are specifically in classrooms.
Okay. Thanks.
Other questions on that topic? Nobody's waving. Okay, so the question on fees was from a parent, Matt Edwards, who's asking, how does the proposed elementary early arrival option cost of $500 compare to the cost to run that service?
Well, the statute that applies to revolving accounts such as this is that we are not supposed to be making a profit off it, that we are to cover only the normal and customary costs associated with providing the services, so that we make sure that we hire enough people to supervise children in that program appropriately, but we don't overhire, because we don't want to enter into a loss, and we don't charge more than we think is necessary to run the program, because the intent, once again, is not to run it for profit-making purposes.
I'm not seeing any other questions from the public. Any other questions from the committee? I'm giving it a beat. Refreshing. Yep, not seeing anything from the public. Anything else from the committee, or are we ready to close the hearing? Not seeing any waves. Then I will make a motion to close this public budget hearing, and thank you for everybody for your attention and questions.
Second.
Thank you, and vote to Avery. I think that was a muted aye.
Aye.
Thanks. Chris? Well timed. Alicia?
Aye.
Ming Chen?
Aye.
Sean?
Aye.
Valerie?
Aye.
What, no barking dog? And I, without a barking dog. And so that hearing is closed. Thank you, Bill, Jean, the finance department. Thanks everybody for all of the work that went into the budget this year. The next update we have under old business is the spring full return.
Well, we've pretty much covered most of that. I will say, though, that in looking at the COVID numbers over the last several days, we're very encouraged to see a downward trend again in the numbers. We were beginning to become very concerned as we were entering the vacation week and a couple of weeks prior to that, that the numbers reflected in the town and in the school system were beginning to increase in terms of positive cases and close contact cases. But that has taken a rather sudden turn, and we're very encouraged by the fact that I think the vaccinations are helping. I think people are still being very careful and cautious in terms of masking and social distancing. So, you know, we want to thank everyone for doing their part, because remember, that helps keep our students in school where they belong and where we all belong. So, Carrie, I don't know if you have anything else, but I think we've pretty much covered everything in terms of the reopening.
I do think we covered everything. The only other piece I just want to add is that I have been hearing so many great stories about the elementary staff and their use of technology in the classroom. Even for those staff members who don't have RLA students, they are utilizing technology in a whole new way that they hadn't prior to the pandemic, when they had their full caseload in front of them. So when we are ready and this is behind us, we'll be able to dig. I do think that there will be many benefits that will glean from this experience, and that certainly will be one of them. And we've seen that firsthand.
Great. Any, I know we kind of handled a lot of this during the informational updates, but any questions from the committee on return issues? Not seeing waving hands. That sounds like a really good sign that people had good days out there. So thank you. Thank you again. We'll echo the earlier thank yous and keep repeating them a lot this year. I think everyone, including our students, has an appreciation for being in school that they might not have had previously. Moving on to new business, if everyone's okay, without objection, we're going to do this a little out of order. And the first item we'll address under new business is the FY22 superintendent contract. Taking that first without objection. Nobody's waving at me, so I'm seeing no objection. While I'm listed on the agenda, credit where credit is due, this really needs to get passed to Avery for taking the lead on this. So Avery, what's the update?
The update, and I want to make sure Sean gets thanked too. He and I met with Dr. Chu several times, and we have been able to finalize a contract that is in the packet tonight that we ask for the committee's positive vote on to finalize the incoming superintendent's contract.
Thank you, Avery and Sean, for the work that went in to finalizing this. Thank you to the public's patience. It just takes a little time with back and forth. I know we've had a couple of questions along the way, and I think we are ready to take a vote tonight. Any questions from the committee? Seeing none, I'll put the motion on the floor. I believe the motion we'll need to make is that the committee approves of the FY22 superintendent contract as presented in the packet and authorizes me as chair to sign it on behalf of the committee.
Second.
Excellent. Enthusiastic second. And vote to Avery.
Aye.
Chris.
Aye.
Alicia.
Aye.
Ming Chen.
Aye.
Sean.
Aye.
Valerie.
Aye.
And I. That would be unanimous. I will sign on behalf of the committee. We will ask Dr. Chu to sign. And oh, look, I think we have a guest appearing on our screen.
Congratulations, Chris, and I wish you well.
Congratulations, Dr. Chu, and welcome. There you are. You're on our screen. Welcome to our Brady Bunch Zoom screen. Thank you for joining us, and congratulations. We are now official, I's dotted, T's crossed, all that jazz.
Oops. You're on mute, Chris.
And in classic Zoom, you can't make it up. We can't actually hear you.
Though he's not muted,
Oh,
we can't
yeah.
hear him.
We'll try it again.
Can you hear me now?
There you go. Yes, we can.
The fancy headphones, they did nothing for me other than feel like a radio host. I did just want to say that it did take a little while for us to do this, but the meetings that Avery and Sean and I had, they were all great meetings. And so it's just a question of, it takes a while then to have a conversation, and then you have to look at something and then have a conversation. And so I really appreciate the care that I know everybody put into it, but specifically that Avery and Sean took in working through this process, because this was a new process for me as well too. So I just wanted to say thank you to the two of them and to all of your support from the whole committee.
Thank you very much and welcome. And my understanding is you'll be staying with us for the evening. Excellent. Well, welcome to the Brady Bunch Squares on Zoom. And next item, we'll go back to our order, is May 4th professional development update.
Sure, I'm happy to get us started with that. And I'm not sure, Bill, if you had invited any others to join, but I I think I can just provide an overview, and then if others do end up hopping in, then we can add them to the discussion as well. But Bill, as you know, has been working with his Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee over the past couple of years, and there's a subcommittee within that that has focused specifically on education, curriculum, some of the texts that we have, and one piece in particular was planning for the May 4th full professional development day for staff. And there were 9 staff members on this subcommittee of the DEI committee, 2 students and 2 parents, and they worked very hard to come up with a high quality day on the topic of DEI that I do believe will be kind of a district-wide kickoff as we move forward and look into next year and future years, honing in more on that topic, as we know we need to, and it is a priority within the school district and town as well. So the plan that they had and that they brought forward to me, and I had met with them a couple of times to just kind of fine tune some things. So we do have a keynote speaker in the morning, Khalees Wernham. She's a cultural proficiency coach and very well known in the field. And her focus will be on culturally responsive teaching and understanding the deep aspects of culture and identity, not just holidays, but the true cultural identity that defines us, our students, our and their thinking and perspectives. So we do know that this is just the beginning of something that is much larger, but I do think it's a very exciting springboard. After the keynote, we are going to break into, now district-wide, mind you, groups of 12, because we have 51 people who have stepped up to be facilitators so that we could make these groups small. And this team of people from the DEI subcommittee had training opportunities. It's not very heavy lifting. These 51 people don't have to be experts. They're truly just facilitating. And there were many trainings to go through the discussion protocol that they will all be using to process what was discussed from the speaker and apply it to what they already know, ask questions. It's a very specific protocol to foster deep thinking on the topic, and also understanding that some of the content will be uncomfortable, and having staff monitor themselves and taking care of themselves while pushing the boundaries of their comfort zone, which is what we all kind of need to do in order to grow. Then we'll break for lunch, and after that, we'll return to the small groups, and our students who have been trained by the Anti-Defamation League will then be the facilitators, facilitating and providing activities for these groups of staff members to do, to walk them through some of the exercises these students do normally when they are charged to go into the middle school and high school classrooms and advisories to get students talking about bias and identity and identifying what people are comfortable talking about and what they may not be comfortable talking about. And so they do this typically with their peers under normal circumstances and normal years, and they're, as I said, trained to do so. But this time they'll be doing this with the entire staff in the small group. So it's really empowering our students who are becoming experts too. And I do feel like, while this is a, very planned day, there are pieces of planting seeds so that things will also grow organically, as well as keeping up with some of the valuable time that we have with staff moving forward to focus more heavily on this topic. So we're very excited about that. I really am impressed with what that team came up with. And I see others came on, so please jump on in if you want to backfill any information or clarify some things. We've got Amy and Kelly here, who are part of that subcommittee.
I'll hop in. I'm Amy Bailey. I am one of the ELL teachers for the district, and I work at Miller, Chris Fully, Blanchard, and Stony Brook this year. And I'm also one of the middle school ADL facilitators. Kelly Wilbur is the other teacher who is here with us. And Kelly Wilbur's computer does not like to actually allow her to speak aloud on Zoom. So she is here for the visual support, and I will be the speaking portion of our day. We're very excited about our professional development day that's coming up. I feel like really diving into this topic has been long coming in Westford. And while we are all anticipating some of that discomfort that comes with talking about these complex issues, we're excited at the forward progress that we're making to really take this on. And Kelly and I have had the privilege of working with some amazing students who really allow us to see just the hope of possibility of what we could be, what our community could be when we're really comfortable talking about identity, learning more about identities that may be different than ours, and creating spaces where people are able to be who they are. So we're hoping to kind of bring that energy and excitement along with us. So our day, as Dr. Cleary mentioned, is pretty packed, but also with these opportunities built in for discussion, which I think is really where a lot of our progress as a district coming together to make this who we are and what we do will happen. We're going to be starting with some self-assessment so we can gain a little more data from faculty and staff across the district about how they feel and what they feel that they need in order to further this work. We're really excited about our speaker, Dr. Khalees Warnham. I think she's going to be a pretty impressive person for us to hear from. And then we'll be moving into our discussion groups. Our ADL student portion in the afternoon is done on video. So we had middle school ADL students who videotaped themselves facilitating some of the activities. So that's kind of twofold. Our faculty and staff from across the district, pre-K through 12, will get a chance to see what our ADL peer leaders do. We talk about them an awful lot, but not everyone has the opportunity to see the types of activities and the purposes of those activities. So there are a few that they'll be leading us through. And we had two phenomenal students on our DEI committee who come to our full DEI team and our DEI education subgroup who really stepped up and helped put together the afternoon piece of it. So they did the video editing and coming up with discussion questions. So our faculty in their small groups will be watching that video and then pausing the video and discussing what they've just seen the students talk about and kind of apply it to their own group and their own thinking. And then at the end of the day, we'll have another assessment of how the day has gone so that we can gain a little feedback about what people found most valuable and where people feel they need to go at the end of the day. This was a really tremendous task to take on. We had a wonderful group of people, as was mentioned, faculty, students, parents who stepped in, other faculty members who had other skills that we could pull from who weren't even on our committee. So it was a tremendous amount of effort. We were really fortunate to be able to have a work day where a lot of the members of our committee could come together with coverage for their classes and just devote the hours that it took to putting some of this together. But it also gave us that perspective of like, wow, what a task this is and what time and focus it takes. And that's hard to do when we all have other jobs that are our main focus. So it's also that, you know, that hope, that desire that one day soon there will be a person who has this as their focus, as their job, as their time to devote to really carry this forward in our district. So I had to put in my little plug for that. But we're excited and we're really looking forward to it. And we have 51 discussion groups that are happening from pre-K through 12 with a number of facilitators who've stepped up. They're going to be our timekeepers. And as we've mentioned to everyone, none of us are experts in this work. We're all coming to learn from each other, to grow in our discussions, and to move ourselves forward as a district who is there to support all of our school community. Thank you.
Amy, Gloria, can I just say thank you to Amy and Kelly and your subcommittee, because you have done an extraordinary amount of work And that work has been done with great passion. And I was speaking with a group of people from another community late this afternoon, and we were talking about DEI and the fact that this is not a one and done situation. You know, this is not a sort of a gratuitous step each year. We have one professional development day devoted to DEI. This has to become part of our DNA in the school system, and what we think and breathe every day in terms of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And you know, I was asked this afternoon, well, how do you define equality and equity? And I said, well, equality would be if every student had the same book on their desk, but equity is providing the services and meeting the needs of the individual students to make sure they develop a comprehensive understanding of the information in that book. And so there's lots of nuances, lots of differences in terms of what we have to present to our students over the next years, not only in Westford, but in other school systems across the country. It absolutely has to be one of the tiles, or one of the threads, I should say, in the tapestry of what we do.
Wow. There's a children's book my oldest used to read that would, wow, that was just about all I could say. Wow. I'm sure I'll find something else though. What an amazing presentation. What an amazing depth of preparation that has gone into this day. I'm super jealous. Dr. Khalees Warnham, I've had the honor and privilege of hearing her speak before. She is amazing. I'm thrilled she's coming to our community, and that everyone on our staff is going to get to hear from her. She's astounding. And the fact that so many staff members have stepped up to lead groups is just amazing, especially during this year when we know what a difficult year this has been for all of you. So to have taken on an extra burden during a year like this, I mean, kudos to all of you. Thank you, Amy, Kelly. It doesn't matter if your audio doesn't work, your support and enthusiasm comes through. So thank you so very much. And shout out to the students as well for standing up to be leaders on this topic. So I'm just in awe. I'll turn it over to other people and stop gushing. Valerie.
I don't know if I'm about to share the same thing Alicia is sharing, but Dr. Warnham led a MASC workshop back in February, and it was awesome. And the one quote she had that really kept resonating with me days later was, when when it comes to dessert, you want equality. When it comes to schools, you want equity. And I was just like that. Anyway, the whole workshop was amazing, but there was just a ton of quotes that were, she was really inspiring. So.
Gloria, may I just say also, I do want to let you know I'm purchasing a book for the entire leadership team. It's by Dr. Jim Peel, and the title is Changing Hearts and Minds. It's a leader's handbook to diversity, equity, and inclusion. That should be in another couple of weeks, and we'll distribute that to the entire leadership team and to the DEI committee also.
Great, fantastic. I know I thought I saw another hand. I think we may have lost Alicia to technical issues. We'll see if she's back in a minute. Any other hands, comments, questions? Alicia, you're back.
I am back. I had a little bit of a connectivity issue. I just wanted to say that as part of the DEI subcommittee, which, sorry, policy, I think DEI is my favorite subcommittee, I had the opportunity to sample part of the discussion structure, the active listening, the questioning, the dialogue facilitation. And I have to say, I'm always impressed with what happens at DEI, but I am so very impressed with the structure of how this professional development day is going to go. And I'm really hoping that on the other side, we can hear back from you all as to, how it went, what were the great takeaways, because we've known for many years that we definitely need someone whose job this is. This is a huge undertaking for any district, but you know, when we have staff members who, like Gloria said, at this year of all years, who are taking so much extra time out of their lives to do this, because it is so desperately important to our staff and our students and our families and our town as a whole, it is very obvious that we need someone whose job solely is this within our district. So I would love to hear from you all on the flip side as to how everything went. I'd love to hear from the A World of Difference peeps. Love to hear from those kids. They're phenomenal. So I wish you the best of luck on the 4th. And fourth? Yes, 4th. And I can't wait to hear how it all goes.
Oh, fantastic. Any other hands, comments? Okay, thank you all very much. Best of luck for an amazing day on the 4th. Although I don't think you need luck because you have a lot of preparation and spirit. So we wish you a fantastic day for all. Thank you very much. Next on our agenda, we have a job description for school counseling coordinator.
Well, this is a somewhat revised job description. One of the things that we have decided to do is to focus the position on grades 9 through 12. And Courtney Moran has agreed to assume responsibility for the middle school grades also. That was based on given the magnitude of work that is necessary at the high school, where we have 1,700 students. Okay, and sort of a seamless transition into the middle schools from Courtney, who has been the pre-K through 5 guidance coordinator to this point in time. I think Jim is joining us, Jim Antonelli, and Chris is with us. If they want to indicate or carry anything, I don't believe Courtney has been not feeling well and wasn't sure that she'd make it tonight. But you know, if you have any questions, Jim or Chris or Carrie or myself, we're glad to answer them.
I guess the question that I would have, and I think this is you know, in large part for understanding for the public, is how does this position differ from the current head of guidance position that we have? How is this position different?
Jim, you want to address that?
Sure. Well, you know, the changes are based on this being a 6 through 12, you know, position primarily. We've made a shift to primarily take a look at making this more of a 9 through 12 position. And we talked this through with Dr. Chu and Dr. Cleary, and we included Mr. Hislop, principal of Blanchard Middle School, and Courtney. So we had a really solid discussion about what this position could look like. As you know, Wendy Pekacek is going to be retiring in September, so there will be some transition. But we wanted to get this to you as quickly as possible. The position was really drafted back in 2006, was the position prior to Wendy taking the job. And then as the jobs progressed, as you look at the job description, you can see there are a lot of different things that have changed based on social and emotional well-being of our students. You know, it's this person oversees the scheduling process with me to make sure that we're making sure that we meet the needs of all of our students. It really is a big job, and it's become even larger and more expansive due to the social emotional needs of our students. And as you know, Wendy has been a huge advocate for our students over the years. We brought to you, I want to say about 7 or 8 years ago, some scary numbers when we were talking about students that had hospitalizations in the first 3 months of school, 42 students that we had already seen. And so we've done a lot of work to make sure that we have the underpinnings in place. You know, the Bridge program has been so beneficial to us. Thank you to the Westford Academy trustees for helping with that. The alternative education program, you know, Courtney this year has provided us with some grant work for grades 9 and 10. So there's just a tremendous amount of work. And when speaking with Courtney, she felt that it would be a seamless transition for her to continue with all the way up through grades to grades 8. And we also felt, based on the conversation with Dr. Chu and Mr. Hislop, that that his folks at the middle schools had good conversations already with Courtney, and she was included in a lot of discussions, really K-8, because of her position. So we thought it was a smooth transition at this time to make this a new job description for the 9 through 12 leadership, because I don't see this job getting any easier, folks. Just the scheduling alone is a massive job to try and meet the needs of all of our students. We want to continue with such a comprehensive program that we have at WA. But on top of that, we know that our students are going to have significant needs over the next 2-3 years based on this pandemic. And we really have to focus on that. And specifically before these students head off into a new endeavor as they leave Westford Academy to head out into college or university, right? Or jobs or the military. So we want to make sure that they are in really, really good shape. There's going to be some gaps. We know that there's been as good a job of we have done, and we've done a good job at Westford. And I know you talked to many candidates over the last 2 months about, when Dr. Chu was applying for the superintendency job, that Westford has done a good job, and we have, but we still know that there is going to be some things that we're going to have to take a really good look at and keep our eyes on to make sure we're catching every kid and every student that we have here at WA. So this is a job description that came together. A lot of the stuff was massaged a little bit from the last job description, but it also morphed into what it really needs to be today based on the needs of our students in 2021.
Right. In terms of the day-to-day function of that position, I would say that there's not a whole lot that is changed from what that position is doing right now in that job description. It actually reflects the more current tasks that's expected and needed. The difference is that span, instead of being 6 through 12, is going to be 9 through 12. However, the way that it currently exists, 9 through 12 is all consuming as it is. So while Wendy has done a terrific job continuing to reach out to the middle schools and touch base with those counselors, the scheduling and all of that is done very differently than it is at the high school. So it does make sense that the K-5 guidance director, which is part of Courtney's position, does expand K-8. It just feels like that fits better. And then the 9 through 12 is an entirely separate beast.
Some of the things that Wendy has done along with myself has gone over to the middle schools to have discussions. We do a full scaled presentation with theater arts and music and all the many facets that we have at the high school. So when we go over to the 2 middle schools, that's the same thing that will happen with this position. There'll be a lot of shared conversations to make sure the transition from grade 8 to grade 9 is smooth for all of our students. So it's a huge job. It's got a lot of moving parts to it. Wendy's done a terrific job. I can't thank her for what she's done over the years. And it's what's nice about this is that her leaving in early September would give us an opportunity to do some transition, and for us at this point, it's really a good time for us to get this out into school spring to advertise and move. We will need to move pretty quickly because it is getting late in the year for this.
And it really is just more reflective of, I think, what both Jim and Carrie said is of the way in which things have been working, specifically when we talk about the relationship, and the fact that Courtney Moran has really been overseeing a great deal of the social emotional support that all of our students need. And she's working with the middle school counselors on a regular basis in supporting the different resources that they're trying to help families with. So it really is more reflective of what is actually happening, I think, and it does allow the focus to be primarily for this person to be at the high school and focused on this very specific needs of the high school, which I think is helpful.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments on this job description? Valerie?
I just wanted to highlight for you that there's an Airtable submission about this.
Thank you. The question is, are there concerns about the special education director's workload? Many districts have an assistant director of special education. She does not, and taking on more makes me worry about compromised special education.
That has not been a concern at all expressed by Courtney, and in our discussions, I don't think any of us felt that taking on the responsibilities because Courtney currently has a number of conversations with the staff throughout the year. None of us have approached this with the feeling that the additional responsibilities would sacrifice her responsibilities as the special education director. And Jim and Chris and Carrie, if you feel differently from our conversations, but that's what we pretty much heard.
Yeah, a big shift, if you will, would be in the evaluation responsibilities, but that is shared amongst all the administrators, right? So whereas currently Wendy Pakacek 6 through 12 is one of the evaluators for the middle school counselors, that's shared with the building level administrators as well too, as we figure out the cycle each year. And so Courtney, we talked about that with Courtney. Courtney might pick up a couple of the evaluations, but she wouldn't be doing all of them. It would still be part of that cycle. It's more about the idea that their relationship, the transition from elementary to middle school, I think will be strengthened with this ability for Courtney to kind of stay involved in that conversation. And it's not at all a comment or slight against Wendy, because Wendy's done a phenomenal job. It's just more about looking at, I think, the needs at the academy, and it allows for a balance that is more in line with just the authentic conversations that are happening on a regular basis, which I think is helpful.
Great, thank you for that clarification. Any other questions, Chris?
I was just wondering if there are any projected budgetary impacts, either short-term or long-term, just based on changes to, the qualifications and experience of candidates that we might be looking at for the role, or anything like that.
We haven't planned for any changes in the compensation level. Chris, I can't speak about the future, but at this time, there is no plan for any revision of any compensation levels based on reassignment of some responsibilities.
Other questions? I'll double check the Airtable and last call for questions. Seeing none, I'll make the motion to approve the job description contained in our packet for a school counseling coordinator for grades 9 through 12.
Second.
And vote to Avery.
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Alicia?
Aye.
Ming Chen?
Aye. Aye.
Sean?
Aye.
Valerie?
Aye.
And aye, that would be unanimous. Thank you all for your efforts and good luck with your search.
Thank you very much.
Next topic. Oh, well, we already took care of a superintendent contract approval. So next up would be Stony Brook principal replacement plan.
Well, Chris and I have been discussing, because I want his input on this type of decision also, since we're so close to a transition. We've been talking about the Stony Brook administration for next year. And both of us feel very confident in my interest and Chris's interest in appointing Rick McElhaney as the interim principal of the Stony Brook School for next year, and advertising for an interim assistant principal position. Now, keep in mind, the reason for an assistant interim assistant principals in the event that Rick, doesn't find that to be a match for him, that he wants to move back to the assistant principal job. So we feel comfortable in his abilities. He has been very thorough in everything that he has done. He has been an outstanding compliment to Chris. And Chris, I'll turn it over to you because you have a more intimate working knowledge with Rick than I have, but I've been impressed with everything that Rick has done in terms of the Stony Brook work and his work in various committees throughout the system.
Yeah, thank you, Bill. I have the utmost confidence in Rick's ability. I mean, I've had the pleasure of being his partner in crime for 7 years. And so while we joke about the, people being able to tell us apart because we clearly look so similar, for those of you who know both of us, our core values are so in line with each other. And so I'm very comfortable with the idea of him becoming the interim principal. And the reason why I think that this is really important is because with this timeline right now, I think it also allows for there to be full transparency, right? So that then that allows me next fall to collect feedback, collect information from him, collect information from the teachers, collect information from parents, as if we were doing a full search at this moment in time, we would do that same thing. And it allows for feedback in terms of the fit. And it is a change in the position. And I know that, he's done an amazing job as the assistant principal, and I believe that he'd be a great principal of Stony Brook. I think it does allow him also the opportunity to decide if this is the path that he wants to choose. The other piece to this, which I think is a unique opportunity for us, is that it allows us to post for an interim assistant principal. And we have a lot of phenomenal teachers in our district who would make great administrators, but many don't necessarily want to take that leap to administration because they don't know if it's something that they would necessarily like, because it's a big change when one leaves the classroom. And if we have an interim assistant principal position, it also allows a teacher the opportunity to explore that aspect of a career and still know that if it's not something that they feel comfortable with, that they would still have their teaching position. Because if they were to sign on for a full position, they would be losing that opportunity. So I feel like it's a really unique thing that we can do right now, which is why I'm excited about this opportunity.
Thank you. To clarify for the public, and this is obviously, this is an administrative decision.
Right.
I appreciate you coming and reporting to us about your plans and to the community. There certainly have been questions about the community about what the next steps at leadership for Stony Brook might look like. So I appreciate that information. But for the public who might be wondering, we're not going to take a vote on this tonight because this isn't our decision. It's an administrative choice. But given that, obviously echo and support everything you've said, and certainly know that your building and how your building will be in good hands, Dr. Chu. So absolutely supportive of your choice here. Any questions, comments from the committee? Chris?
Yeah, could you talk a little bit about what the process and maybe the timeline might look like where the interim label would no longer apply?
Well, I do think that if we looked at the fall, if we looked at having discussions in November, I think it would be a time to collect that information. It would be different than a full search if we decide that we want to do a search for a principal. If we feel like it's not the right fit at that time, then I think the important thing would be in figuring out how we're going to collect that information, whether it's meeting with faculty members, whether it's providing feedback information, but it'd be something that we'd be looking at doing, I think, in early November. Just because I think that's I think it's important for the transparency aspect of it, right? Because I think it is easy for people to sit there and say, oh, well, wait a second. Of course, Dr. Chu's going to appoint the assistant principal as the person to, to follow behind him, and just think that it's part of a good old boy type of decision being made. And that's not at all what's happening. I do think that the timeline of this is important. And so it'd be different than say an open search if we were then putting together a committee. So I don't foresee having a committee of people provide information. I foresee providing feedback for anybody to give us information and feedback.
Thanks.
If you were so disposed to advertise and post the job, you want to do that sometime starting in December, no later than early January, to make sure that you reach the market when there's an optimal time for candidates to be looking and optimal time to be hiring a principal. But Rick has been an excellent administrator, and I fully support Chris's co-decision with me to go ahead with him on an interim basis.
Yes, I like I said earlier, I have the utmost confidence in Rick McElhaney. I think it's one of those things, having been the building principal, there are different headaches that arise that sometimes people might be like, oh, that's not necessarily the role that I wanted to get into. Just like when I put my hat in the ring to become superintendent, people were like, wait, are you sure you really want to do that? So I feel like it provides that opportunity, but I have the utmost respect and confidence in Rick's ability to continue to lead Stony Brook. I mean, he is responsible for the environment that I think is incredibly successful there right now. So I feel like it's the right choice.
But will he continue carpool karaoke? That's the important question.
That is an excellent question. Might be the thing he's most concerned about.
You're on mute, Gloria.
Can you hear me now? Well, okay. Well, I was just saying, I'm concerned about carpool karaoke too.
There might be a whole lot of carpool karaoke going on. I'm just saying, you never know. It could end up finding its place in a lot of different areas.
Okay, well, now I'm a little scared.
Well, I know Dr. Cleary was already getting a little nervous herself, so I'm just saying, you don't know.
Could be school bus karaoke next year.
Yeah, I think we may need some transitional karaoke. That's got to happen. I mean, I'll leave that to you, gentlemen, but I think it's got to happen.
Yeah, Superintendent Olson and I, we have to come up with some kind of we have to come up with a good duet. We have a couple of months now. We got to come up with something.
Sounds fantastic. Any other comments on this topic, musical or otherwise? Okay. Next up, we have a student enrollment request from Principal Tim Hislop, and a Bill, for the public who may not see these very often, maybe you can just explain the context of why we approve these occasionally.
Yes, I bring these to you for approval because these are not part of their individual contracts. As it is in a Unit A, the Westford Education Agency, the principals all have by statute individual contracts. We have allowed, and it has not happened that often, but we have allowed on occasion a child or children of a school administrator to attend the Westford Public Schools also. And so that's what I bring to you. I support his request and look forward to your support.
Yeah, thank you for that clarification. I mean, clearly this is a benefit that our teaching staff has. Even if they do not live in Westford, their students can attend Westford Public Schools by benefit of the contract. Certainly as a professional courtesy, we would extend that to our administrators as well. But we do take a public vote to make it official, because it's not a contractual benefit the same way it is for our teaching staff. So any questions? Valerie?
Just for my own understanding, can someone explain how this works differently than school choice? I mean, like, is there funds involved? Is it a lifetime spot? Is it a yearly spot? That kind of thing?
Well, we will, it all depends, Valerie, on whether or not I will bring forward to you any openings, any recommendations for openings in that particular grade level, because it is possible that his daughter could enter under the school, excuse me, no. I kept thinking Tim is a resident of Massachusetts. He is not a resident of Massachusetts. So he is not eligible under the school choice program. So it would be tuition free, but that's why it requires your approval, okay? That only Massachusetts residents can have their children participate in the school choice program.
I was just gonna follow up that. It sounded like you answered the funding part of that question, but for the spot part of that question, so would this impact our school choice discussion that I think is coming up soon? And is this a yearly decision, or just once you're in, you're in?
Once you're in, you're in. That's part of the law. The law also states that siblings of students who have already been accepted under the school choice program receive priority. But I generally do not bring forth some recommendations. I haven't in the past on grade levels of 6 and above. It's possible that I might this year, but based on our numbers, I don't see this negatively impacting my ability to recommend school choice numbers to you.
Any other questions? Then I will make the motion that we approve the student enrollment request for Principal Hislop so that his child can attend Westford Public Schools beginning next year.
Second.
And vote to Avery. Nope, you're on mute again, Avery.
Aye.
Thank you. Chris?
Aye.
Alicia?
Aye.
Ming Chen?
Aye.
Sean?
Aye.
Valerie?
Aye.
And I. That would be unanimous, and welcome to our new student.
Thank you.
And not seeing any other business, we will move on to warrants. Alicia, you're up.
Okay. Motion to approve payroll warrant 2144 SP dated April 29th of 2021 in the amount of $2,047,292.13. Oh, wait, sorry, that's 73 cents, not 13 cents.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for the second. Vote to Avery.
Aye.
Chris? Chris?
Aye.
Alicia?
Aye.
Ming Chen?
Aye.
Sean?
Aye.
Valerie?
Aye.
Aye. That's unanimous. Next one.
Motion to approve expense warrant 2144 SE dated April 29th, 2021 in the amount of $473,877.98.
Second.
Vote to Avery.
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Alicia?
Aye.
Ming Chen?
Aye.
Sean?
Aye.
Valerie?
Aye.
Aye. That's unanimous. And no minutes this evening. So next is personnel update.
Well, presenting you with a pretty much a routine personnel update with a lot of changes. The only clarifying comment I want to make is in the last column under notes. The third entry up says there's a long-term sub-in coverage for G. Olson. That's Gail Olson. That spelling is actually Olson. I want to clarify for the public, no relation to me whatsoever.
Thanks for the clarification. Any questions on personnel? Seeing none, I think we're on to our final motion of the evening. Alicia.
Okay, motion to adjourn to executive session to discuss strategy with respect to Unit A and non-union personnel collective bargaining, as an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position. The committee will not return to public session.
Second.
And roll call to Avery.
Aye.
Chris.
Aye.
Alicia.
Aye.
Ming Chen.
Aye.
Sean.
Aye.
Valerie.
Aye.
And I. That would be unanimous. As the motion states, we will not be returning to public session this evening, but we will see you back here in 2 weeks. Everyone have a good evening. Thank you.
Check your emails, committee, for the link to executive session.
Thanks, Chris.